Right. Greetings and welcome to Three Sons in New Bedford, Massachusetts. And you are watching or listening to Witch Talk Live. It is Wednesday, February 26, 2014. My name is Shaw Blackburn. I am the Loon Witch, and I'm here with my sister witches.
Frickaton, Lunar Wisdom.
And
Lady Morgan, Posterity Growth.
And we're here to talk about, are witches real? Is magic real? How do witches really live in modern society? Answering your questions and enlightening you, hopefully. So Sherry Frickaton brought some questions for us today to get the ball rolling.
All right, so the questions that I brought were basically geared towards the American Horror Story Coven. And as we were, or at least as I was watching it, I came up with a bunch of questions that people who might not be familiar with witchcraft or magic or Wicca or whatever may watch the show, the series, and then wonder, is this real or is it fiction? So the first question that I have is, do all witches descend from Tituba from Salem? Because that was a point that came up in the show. So that's the first question I would say.
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no too.
All right.
All right, so that is false. Is there such thing as a supreme witch?
One witch to rule them all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no too. So that, again, is false. It's fiction. Okay, so how about, are psychic abilities gifts? Are they gifts? And if they are gifts, who are they gifted from?
Ooh, very
That's
well.
a good one.
So I think that they are gifts. But I think that they're gifted in a variety of ways. Myself, and the interesting thing is I was just in Florida and I saw my mom's cousin, who apparently is also my cousin. I hadn't seen her in a long time. And the first thing she wanted to know was, where did you get the gift? And I immediately started looking for the package. What gift? Was I supposed to get a gift? And she was like, no, the gift. How did you know you were psychic? How did you decide that this is what you wanted to do? So the perception is that it's a gift from God, the creator of the universe. And when I teach people, as you do as well, and Wendy too, I'm sure you tell them the same thing, we're all born this way. And that's what I believe. We're all born with the gifts of being psychic, the gift of being able to do magic, and I think it's a matter of how you're raised. If you're raised to embrace it and not be afraid of it, or if you're raised, even if you're not raised to, if you're raised so that you don't turn your back from it, I think you're still more open than a lot of people who are raised in a more closed-minded home where it's frightening, or don't do that, or that's bad, or those kind of things. That makes sense.
And I feel probably the same way, that the gift from the universe or your creator, whoever you think. And I feel everybody has it, but some people choose to shut it off, never acknowledge it, or never explore that.
I actually don't see them as gifts.
Okay.
All right.
I actually see it as an ability, but I do believe that we're all born with the abilities. I actually don't view it as a gift, only because I feel like they are, well, going back to the idea that they're gifts from the Creator, I feel like we are of and are manifestations of the Creator. So if it was a gift, it would be a gift from ourselves, which is why I don't view it as a gift. I actually view them as abilities that we are all born with. And some of us just are more aware, or maybe when we discovered these abilities as children, it was cultivated and nurtured, while other people were taught that, that's not right, or that's not good, or it's your imagination, or you're just seeing things or hearing things, and you just have an overactive imagination kind of thing. So I don't view them as gifts, but they are abilities that I feel like we've all
That's a
have
good
since birth. It's just,
I think that's a good point.
I think we all view it in the same way, we're just using
Different
words.
wording, yeah.
I like the
Yeah, yeah. Although I feel like for me, when I think of gifts, it's like a special occasion, or for
Right.
me, just my
Yep.
perceptions, but I definitely believe that, it's, happens. Are there only female witches? Because again, this was sort of brought up in
Yeah.
the show. Okay, so this is sort of not really a question, but there was a statement made. I think it was even in the trailers, like for one of the episodes. If witches don't fight, we burn. So I wrote that down as sort of a topic to discuss. If we don't fight,
slam.
we burn. Yeah, I know, it's good.
Yeah.
So I just wrote that down as a point to discuss.
You're right. I remember hearing that in one of the episodes, and I remember thinking, what does she mean by that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the thing I thought is maybe what she was saying, if I took it right, is that if you don't fight, then you'll be either destroyed or, burned. I mean,
Right.
like you have to fight. If you're a witch, then you have to fight, or you're gonna lose.
Right. So maybe if you don't stand for
Stand up for
something,
yourself
you'll
or for-
fall for anything.
Although I feel like standing up for something, you can stand up and not necessarily fight.
Right,
Not
right.
instigate. So, I don't know.
Well, yeah. So do you feel like what she was saying is you have to instigate, discordance between other witches or other
Or they're gonna
groups,
take you
or
over.
they're going to take you over, or is she saying, if witches don't stand up for the fact that they're witches, then they're just going to be pushed down and persecuted,
Yeah.
ignored, and
Mhm.
Does anybody else want to chime in? We have a lovely audience.
That sounds good. Sure, I agree with that. I think it's more so, what they were trying to make the point is that if they don't stand up for what they believe in, and they are constantly pushed down, they're just going to burn out. That
Yeah, I mean, I
makes
think
sense to me that way.
That's a good point, although it is American Horror Story, so.
Right.
Yes, yes.
Right.
That's
True.
very
Yeah.
And it was,
Wasn't it Fiona?
Fiona, I was gonna say.
Because there
Fiona
was
there.
because I think there was at that, I think if I remember what episode it was, is the whole idea that she was teaching the girls that you had to sort of fight against the hunters and then the voodoo priestess, because if they didn't, then they were going to be swallowed up by these other powerful
Yeah,
entities.
yeah, because the daughter was teaching them more about just the herbalism
Right.
piece and, living a peaceful life and helping.
Healing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is also very good.
Yes.
So what is the difference between witchcraft and voodoo? Is one white magic and the other black magic? Because that was sort of what was suggested in the series.
I think that they have the ability to do both.
Okay.
They can
I would
be
agree too.
light white,
Yeah.
dark.
I think when it comes to magic, it's all shades of gray. Because while I may have the best of intentions doing a spell for myself or for someone else, and we had this discussion over the weekend too, that if I do a spell for prosperity, so I'm praying that I get money, and obviously what happens with me is I usually end up getting another job. So I'm always willing to work for it, but that money has to come from somewhere. Somebody has to give that money up, whether they're giving it up for a reading or a spell or something that I made or whatever. They still have to give that money up so that I can get it. So I think it's just all shades of gray. To that point, is somebody gonna come in for a reading and maybe it's the last $20 they have, and they're not able to pay their rent, or they're not able to make a car payment, or they're not able to get groceries because they spent that last $20 on a reading. I wouldn't know that. So, am I harming that person by doing my prosperity magic? They come in and spend their last $20 on reading, so I'm $20 richer. And then this whole other chain of events takes place. That's why I say I think it really isn't white and black. many shades of.
Right, and I agree to a certain extent with that because you're asking, you're not putting a specific name as to the person that you want to get that money from. So you're not like trying to manipulate a specific person. You're putting it out there. So that person actually has a choice.
Yes.
Exactly.
Where if you're doing a spell and you're putting a name on that, then that person is unaware of that and you're trying to manipulate that person.
Right.
So there's a difference.
And now then it becomes a much darker shade.
And in that whole idea of, doing a reading and getting prosperity from that, I feel like that's an equivalent exchange.
Right.
And the universe works on that. And like you said, not putting a specific name on it, you're asking the universe to send you abundance. And if it comes in that form or another job or however it is, you're not saying, I want this money to come from this source.
Right.
You're just saying, send me the money, I'm open, I'm willing, and allow it to manifest. So I think that's.
This is some good questions.
Thank you. Is there really a war between witches and voodoo priests and priestesses? Is there really a war between them? Because again, this was a concept that was
I would have to
suggested.
say no.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think there is. I mean, we have so many different people here, just in Massachusetts, that follow different paths. And I think it comes down to the only wars that we have are between personality.
And I would agree with you until I actually had this conversation with someone who is more aware of the voodoo culture, not necessarily where we are, because I don't think we see this, but apparently more down south where voodoo is more practiced, there is a sort of discrimination between you, whether you are practicing voodoo or where you're practicing witchcraft. Apparently, from what I understand from this individual, explained to me that there is actually some discrimination between the two cultures, where one feels that the other should not be practicing. So if you were, like myself, they would have a problem if I was practicing voodoo, because I was not brought up in that. It's almost sort of like the idea of lineage
Okay.
and tradition.
I see what you're saying.
That because I was not directly taught it from my family, that I should not be practicing it. So I was actually, I'm like, oh yeah, war, right.
But it's
Until
not
someone,
necessarily about, if I'm practicing witchcraft and you're practicing voodoo, you can get along. It's more like we don't.
well, I
witches
guess it
practicing
depends on
voodoo.
what kind of witchcraft you're practicing, because I'm thinking that if you're practicing folk magic,
Yeah,
they would have a
that's
very,
voodoo.
yes,
right,
they
yeah.
would
Right.
have a
Well, yeah.
very difficult
Oh,
time
I'd be
with
in
that,
trouble.
from what I understand. And again, this
Yeah.
is just from someone else explaining it to me, I can't verify it or not.
Yeah, no.
So I sort of phrased a question that, like anything that I see in fiction, I feel like there's some sort of basis of truth somewhere in that, and there may be some discord, and, American Horror Story just blew it up to be something very big. So I would be interested, I mean, people can leave comments on this video if you know anything, if you live in that area, if you are aware of it. I would like to be educated about it a little more.
Yeah, I think we
That's
all
interesting,
would.
yeah.
So if you are watching the video and you'd like to leave comments, you can do so on the YouTube channel, or you can send an email to 3suns, that's IIISUNSND So do we want to open up and see if there's any questions
Yeah.
in the audience?
Questions?
Harry?
No? All right. Move on.
Okay, next one. How does enchantment work? Is it really possible to enchant an animal like the Minotaur in American Horror Story? Can you really do that?
First, you have to have a minute.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to back that question up. Can you create a minotaur?
Through enchantment, they did it
Yeah.
in the show. She did. Did you see that?
So would you consider that a form of like shape-shifting or
That's what I
glamoring? Because, and it's interesting because I just attended a lecture on shape-shifting where we discussed that, are you able to physically metamorphose into the actual, like the werewolf piece, or what's the other one, the true blood, not the vampires, the shapeshifters who can,
Do anything.
do anything basically, or some of them favor just one animal.
Right.
And basically what we learned was that you could adopt the mannerisms enough where someone might look at you briefly and think, oh, they're a wolf, or, a tiger, or a bear. We discussed all the big powerful animals. We discussed some of the little animals too. And, but it's all about people's perception of what you are, not necessarily what you physically change kind of your DNA makeup to look.
Just that, what you put out.
Right, it's more about an energetic shape shift.
Unfortunately, I feel like that's because we're so limited in our physical reality, that if we actually would allow ourselves as a universal society to allow those physical manifestations, we could actually do it. But, unfortunately, or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, as a humanity, we have put particular rules and laws in line for us to experience the physical manifestation that we don't allow sort of thing to happen. But can you imagine how amazing that would be if we, as a community of humans, would allow that to happen? Because I feel like we do energetically, and then the people who just totally are not open to that sort of thing, obviously would not sort of see or experience that shift in energetic frequency.
You have to wonder, so one of the girls that was in the class with me had mentioned that she was doing a meditation in a public park, and she was really trying to connect to the earth energy. She was sitting up against this tree, and apparently she blended in with the tree so well that when she came out of the meditation and stood up, there was people that were outside, and they literally jumped out of the way because they didn't realize that she was even there. So it makes me wonder, like you were saying, people who are kind of closed off to that energy shift, maybe just wouldn't even realize that you're there, and then all of a sudden you shift back and there you are.
That's that whole idea of the invisibility cloak.
Yeah.
That you can actually, if you really concentrate and get in there, that people will not acknowledge your presence in the room.
And that does work.
Yeah,
It does.
Yep. Well, we've all used that. Meetings in school.
So that brings us to, is there really a witches' council? And if so, what do they do? Because in the series there was lady with the red hair.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Myrtle?
Yes.
And then there was the other, was there two others?
There was the man,
funny guy.
Yeah, he was
Yeah, he
hilarious.
was hilarious. And
and the other lady with brown hair.
I can't remember her name.
So one official witches council for all.
Yes.
For all, no.
But
For
there's
each
certain.
group, each coven,
Didn't you have
each family would have their own elders.
Right. There's definitely a lot of larger governing bodies of, governing, I say loosely. Because when you think about like the Pagan Pride Project, organizes events to bring people together from all paths, not just witchcraft. But then there's also the one up in Salem. Oh my God. The WLP, which is League for Public Awareness.
Yep.
That's not necessarily a governing body, but it is
Is
a
an
larger
umbrella.
body where, anybody can go if they feel like they've been persecuted, not just witches, but they have lawyers and a lot of documentation on hand to certainly help if you're ill. when he's been persecuted.
again.
Yeah, and then, and that's just to name two.
Yeah.
But one for everything,
Like do something and they're gonna come.
and they're gonna come shut me down.
Yep, that's it. In which you're out of business.
Take my gifts.
Take your card. Yeah, take your gifts. You're no longer supreme. Sorry.
It's not just a sauce for chicken croquette.
So, can a witch really pass, quote, the breath of life from one witch to another being? I have a smart, I have a smart Alec response to that. It's called CPR.
Say I'm CPS.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not. Oh, see, if I tried
I
to do that, the
was,
witch council
mine has
would come and
left.
And then you listen for your time.
they would.
All right, cricket song, you're out of business.
I'm out.
That
See ya.
leaves you.
Peace.
Now we have to fight them.
Oh, that's right. We have to do. Oh, I have a question about the 7 wonders coming up. So
Okay.
Okay. So the breath of life, like I think we were all saying, is more like CPR. Okay. Is Papa Legba real? Does he really ask for human souls?
Yeah, he's real. Does he really ask for human souls? I don't know enough about him.
I don't know
I haven't
enough
done
about
enough.
him.
I don't know if he does either. I know he's a darker entity.
He likes
Um,
his realm.
Papa Midnight, I believe what they call it in Judah. And he's kind of on the darker side.
Well, I know Papa Legba because I know someone who gives offerings. I don't know if they're giving human souls as offerings.
I don't know if we wanted it.
Yeah.
But I did like that when he sent them to hell. It was hell of their own creation.
Right, that was
I have
really
often
cool.
said,
That's what I loved.
if hell exists, it's
It's
what
what
you created yourself.
Yeah.
You have brought with
What
you.
you imagine hell to be.
Yes. I did like that part.
That was.
Mhm. That was a cool character too.
Yeah,
he
yes.
did a very good job.
He did. Is it possible to make a ghost like the Axeman in the show alive again? So in this series, he was alive, he died, he was a ghost, and then I can't remember exactly, but there was a spell done by the daughter to make him manifest in reality again. So sort of resurrected him into a human body again.
Right?
So
that's
can you really do that?
Yeah.
Mm.
I wouldn't doubt that some people have at least given it the old college try. I've never witnessed it
I've never.
in actuality, but it would be interesting to hear from. Did you know some people who practice necromancy? But I don't think that they've ever linked anything actually being
Or if they have, they're not gonna talk to me about it.
right.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if I want to know.
I know.
I don't know if I know about it. Because then if you go with the whole equal exchange,
Oh, boy.
and how the universe works with
what are you
that.
giving them? Well, yeah.
Well,
think
like
about
your soul,
think
right?
about
Pet
pet
cemetery.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you bring back, you might not want to bring back.
Does it equate from
Which
that?
kind of goes to the whole zombie thing.
That's true.
Because it was
Yeah.
zombies in more stories.
There were.
Well, and then the boyfriend, they put that kid together.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
They built
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Puzzle. He was a
That
That was
puzzle.
a Frankenstein.
Yes, that was a
That was
Frankenstein.
Well, I'm sorry, Frankenstein's the monster.
That's,
I'm sorry.
Right?
Oh, not.
So
yeah.
that's another
Okay.
interesting thing because they have a new Frankenstein.
I
It looks a
heard
lot
about
different than the Frankenstein that I read as a kid, but it's interesting because throughout history, there's been talk of reanimating corpses in probably every culture. So it lends itself to the probability of being real, just because we've never seen it ourselves.
So,
What
yeah.
happens when somebody has a near-death experience? They die and they
Mhm.
come back.
yeah.
You know, I mean, obviously for the Axeman, he was dead
He was
for a
really
long
dead.
time.
Right.
Yeah, he was
You know.
really dead.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, he was really dead. Okay, so that brings us to the 7 wonders. Are they actual? So the seven wonders, do you guys remember what they were?
Some of them.
Okay, so there was telekinesis,
Mhm.
there was pyrokinesis,
Mhm.
there was divination, transmutation, but they called, that was more of a teleportation when they talked about transmutation.
Mhm.
There was mind control, they had a special word for it, healing, which they called vital vitalis, and traveling to hell and back, the Sensium.
I do that every day.
Yeah, I know. So those are the seven wonders. So are they real? Although I don't know if I'd call teleportation transmutation. I can see what they're
No.
saying with it, and
And that,
But that would be more like shape shifting or.
right, transmutation would not be.
But actually, when I was doing research, and in the philosophy, I think transmutation was taking your soul and transporting it somewhere else.
Astral projection.
It was sort of, but you were actually going into another body, if I
So
remember
you're,
correctly.
but yeah, so astral travel, true story, one of my students a while ago, we had done a class on astral travel, and she's a very energetic young woman. And she decided to give it a try, and I was at my desk at work, and I got knocked out of my chair because she popped into my body and popped back out.
So that would be more like a transmutation.
And I got knocked around quite a bit, and I went to stand and fell down. But I knew it was her. Like, right away, I knew it was going to call her home as soon as I was able to see the phone, and I was like, WTF was that? And she knew what she had done. She was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It wasn't another way to say that. I was like, yeah, don't do that. So, yeah.
So I think, so
So it's
they're,
possible.
right, the transmutation, although they used it more like they were going from, or if you remember that scene where they were like zapping all over and someone
Right.
got impaled. That I think is different than my understanding and what you're describing as transmutation. So I think transmutation is definitely real. And teleportation, do you think that, yeah. No, I don't know exactly if, again, they portray things.
It's not like the being up Scotty type.
Right.
Yeah, going from place to place like that, but maybe like an astral travel.
Astral
Like,
travel.
On a
Yeah.
basic level, yeah.
Yeah.
Because then there's also remote viewing that goes,
Yeah, yeah.
which is, kind of putting your mind's eye in another location.
I found it
That's
amusing
always
that they
fun.
had divination as one of the seven wonders. I just found that was amusing. It's like, wow, it's a seven wonders? Yeah.
So we have a few down.
I know.
Yeah.
We have them all down. don't we?
Yeah, telekinesis,
Telekinesis.
mind control, pyrokinesis, divination, transmutation, healing, and traveling to hell and back. Yeah, that was
We've got it covered.
Right? It's called the mess.
So, Cordelia, you remember she poked her eyes out so she could gain sight again?
Yeah.
Is there a reason she would do that? And the only thought that I came up with personally was that equal exchange thing. She was giving up her physical sight so she could gain sight.
Gain yours.
But I don't think that's necessary.
I don't think that's so
Do
either.
not go to those.
However, when you have people that do not have sight, do not have one of their senses, they usually are stronger.
And
In the other
And in her case, that's because she knew she had that other sight. And it was only when she was
And you also
born,
hear
so-
people who are in traumatic accidents and tragedies that come out with.
Yeah,
with gifts.
with new abilities, yeah.
And I think it's important to note that in the show, at some point, I think Myrtle told Cordelia that she didn't have to give up her physical sight because she had that ability within her all the time.
Right.
It's just that she put up her own resistance to say, I don't have, and I need to do this in order to gain it. And in actuality, she didn't have to.
Right.
And that was her own
at some
personal-
point, she kind of knew where those eyes came from, too, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the other part of the that
Yeah,
she didn't want.
that's true, yeah.
Yeah. Is it possible for someone to have no soul because remember Papa Legbo,
Oh, yeah.
wanted to make a deal and said, oh, you have no soul. No deal for you.
So she couldn't make a deal with him.
Yeah.
Right.
So you think there's possibility that there are people that have no soul like that?
They may seem soulless.
Right, do you feel like in theory, maybe they, like, because every living thing has a soul, that maybe they've already committed their soul to something else?
And that's what I thought when I was watching it, that she had done a long time ago. Already had done something. They don't say that.
Somebody
Right,
else.
They don't.
Right, the soul's not hers to give because she already committed it to something else.
Maybe it was an automatic.
Yeah. Right?
Prior behavior.
I don't know, but what do you think? I don't know. I mean, I've met people that seem like they have.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Right.
saying. It's
Yeah.
But I guess it's gonna go down to what your definition of soul is and what
Yeah,
that
and that would
is.
be on an individual
So
basis.
if I say that, my soul is just my energetic connection to God and Goddess and everyone else, and it's just energy, if I look at it in that sense, then if I have no energy, then I'm not animated,
Yeah.
But then if you're looking at a soul as more than just that energy and your ideas and your thoughts and your feelings and your will and everything else, then I don't know. Yeah. I'd have to think about
Think
it.
about that a while, yeah. That's it.
Now, we did say that people are born with gifts or abilities, but do you feel like witches are born as witches? Like in the American Horror Story, you were either born a witch or you were a muggle or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yes, I do think that witches are born. And partly goes back to the discussion that I had with my cousin, Mom and Stephanie, who wanted to know, where I got the gift from. And looking back at my own childhood and how different I am from my brother in the way I see the world and the way I react to different things and the things that I'm curious about. And when I looked at a lot of my students and how they grew up and what they thought and how they react to things, I do feel like there is, I don't know if it's something in the personality or what it is that signifies you're a witch, and eventually you will find your way.
I think it's owning, like,
Yeah.
accepting what you are and embracing it. Like, I'm oldest of 4 girls, and I'm the only one who actually, they all have a little something, but they choose not to explore it, they choose not to use it, they choose to.
But just because you have a gift, does that necessarily mean you're a witch?
No,
So first of all, I have a couple of questions then. So do you think your brother could then not become a witch?
No, I think he could.
Okay, because that's
Yeah.
I feel like in American Horror Story they presented it as
One or the
you were
other.
either a witch
Yeah.
and you either accepted it or you didn't, but you were a witch, and then there was this population that just could never be a witch.
no.
Yeah, no,
That's how
I
I
don't
felt it
agree
was
with that.
portrayed.
That's how I feel it was
Because
portrayed.
they were going out searching for all these girls who just
Who were the
weren't fitting
descendants,
in. They
Right,
might have been descendants, but they weren't aware of it.
right.
And it's Zoe. She didn't know why that happened with
Right.
her gift. So I really don't think they had any education, grow and learn in crafts, do any of that. So yeah, the way they portrayed it, it was like they picked. I don't want to spoil the ending if nobody's ever seen it, but if you have
It's been
seen
over
it,
for a
it
while.
makes sense too. They feel that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
is
because
something
they
that's
look at
just
the world
picked and that
different.
they weren't brought up.
Yeah.
A lot of you brought up. Some of you were, some of you weren't. Within your family, where you learned, it was just something that you learned from your family,
Yes.
and it became
And
part of you.
Also, that goes back to like why they call it practicing witchcraft. Like we were all taught, like we all knew about the herbs and what Grandma did and how to do this and that. They just didn't bother with it. They didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't embrace it. They didn't own it. They didn't have anything to do with it. So, if it's within you and it resonates with you, then you continue it. You just
Yeah.
as a natural.
And I think anybody can apply themselves and study and become a witch. I don't think it's an exclusive
Yeah.
birthright.
Not
Yeah.
like they portrayed
Yeah.
it, but.
So then, as Donna was pointing out, then if you were saying that if you have a gift, does that make you a witch? Was your question, right?
Well, Wendy
Or
had
do
said
all-
that, she had, her sisters also have this, but they're not
Right.
acknowledging it. That's what I said is, just because they have a gift, is that necessarily make them a witch?
Witch.
Right.
And that's
No,
where I
would have to
believe-
further
Yeah.
delve into
Right.
it. And
So, I mean, I think everybody's perception of what a witch is might be a little bit different, because is a witch a
I was going
supernatural?
with that.
Is a witch like a supernatural being? I think I'm pretty super. And unnatural, but that doesn't make me supernatural.
Right.
You know what, I think that, I think witchcraft is a lifestyle, you know, that you embrace, you know.
it's not a hobby or a craft, it's a lifestyle.
Your spirituality.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of who I am every day of my life. I can be, you know, in my corporate job and still be a witch. It's not anything that I turn on or off.
Right, exactly.
Does that mean that I'm levitating pencils and tape measures and things like
Of
that
course.
while I'm, you know? Yeah, you know, I'm bibbidi bobbidi boo and my
Of
work is done
course.
for me.
There it is.
And the rest is just copycats.
Seriously, if it were that easy. But
Well,
I do,
I think that's because people separate it, like, all right, I'm a spiritual person, so I follow my spiritual path every single day, no matter what I'm doing, that's part of me,
Right.
just like that.
Yeah.
But the difference is because it's wicked, or you're a witch,
Yeah,
people associate it differently.
right.
right,
They see you differently.
yes.
Like, you're supposed to be walking around with your hat in your room.
Mm.
And I don't
Exactly.
mean that, like.
Sometimes, but not
mean
always.
way.
You're
I
right.
mean it, that's how people associate it. They don't look at it as
We're boring.
a
We're sorry.
faith or a belief.
Right. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that you're right, because
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I meet new people, and especially again in the corporate world, when I meet people and then my coworkers will kind of out me a little bit and be like, oh yeah, this is Chef, she's a witch, you know. It's always gonna be the first thing they say, and then this is what she does for the company. By the way. And it's interesting and entertaining for me to watch how different people react to that piece of information, because the first time that it happened was I was in a foreign country. And I didn't speak the language, and there was only a handful of people that I worked with who were around me, and you know, these people are your lifeline. When you don't speak the language and you're in a place where, you know, potentially get into some trouble. This was my first trip ever.
Mhm.
And the senior member of the trip basically outed me to the whole workforce in this group. And I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna have a heart attack right here and die, or they're gonna kill me, spit in my food. I don't know what's gonna happen. I just didn't know how they would react. And they were like, oh, what does that mean? And then, you know, we had a discussion about how it's a lifestyle and it's, you know, kind of a spiritual path. And, I talked a lot about folklore and things like that, and every culture has its own folklore. So then my natural curiosity lends itself to, well, what folklore do you have? And you have stories about, you know, the hair and moon and this and that. And it opens up a dialogue so that people don't react like, where's your, you know, but I get it a lot of times when I'm introduced that way. People will say, oh, well, where's your hat, or where's your broom, or where's, you know, where's your wand? And so I've taken to carrying some of these little trinkets around with me, so that when I'm in the middle of a meeting, and, you know, we're talking about the budget or whatever, and somebody says, oh, well, where's your magic wand? It's right here. And then it's, you know, and then who knows what's gonna happen, but. But I'm very fortunate that I haven't had people react badly to me. At times people have, you know, come up to me that like, oh my, you know,
No, it's usually more of a curiosity.
yeah.
The last one,
Yeah.
are there really human voodoo dolls like the character of Queenie?
I don't know. There's gotta be a name for that. Yeah, like empaths.
Yeah, but
I kinda
empaths
like
don't
that.
go around and stick
Well, they don't-
pins in
yeah.
themselves to hurt someone else.
That's true.
Is it? And it's almost like it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Because it was whatever
Yeah.
was done to Queenie, they felt, whereas with an empath, they
Right.
feel
get
whatever
over
that's
the-
done to other people.
a feeling. So if that's possible, who's to say the opposite? Is it?
Right. That's
Yeah.
true.
That's,
I wouldn't want to do that.
No.
I was thinking,
I'm
I
like,
don't have that one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hurt you. Ooh. Yeah, no, I don't think I
I
want
wouldn't want to
to
shoot myself in the head.
No, no, seriously.
That person, you have to have a lot of input.
Yeah.
You know? Well, you have a serious case of PTSD after that.
Yeah, no
Oh, my
kidding.
goodness.
But it didn't hurt Queenie when she did it to herself, did it?
No, but that's still just the whole.
No,
the
well,
whole.
but it hurt her temporarily.
Initially, and then
Oh,
she
yes,
would
it
and then it
did.
would go,
Yes,
yeah.
it did.
she
'Cause-
would
yeah,
immediately heal, put her hand in the.
Mhm.
yeah, because she did
Yeah.
die when she shot herself with a bullet, and then
Yeah.
Came out.
came
Yeah.
back.
Wow.
Everybody came back in that. Well, not everybody, almost everybody,
Almost everybody.
until the end. That's all the questions I had. Well, I didn't have
Excellent, you
them,
did a
but
good job.
You did
what
this
I
and
thought
that,
maybe someone might
things
ask.
that we can chat.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Oh, I think it was a good conversation to distinguish what is, because there are a lot of people that just, they don't know, and I think that creates a little bit of fear.
Oh, that's
Well, yeah,
Actually,
yes.
it's kind of a good question, not about what we just did here, but because we're talking about real and fake, right? There is a lot of talk, or there was a lot of talk in the YouTube community recently about real and fake,
Okay.
witches and magic. And there was a few videos that I watched in regards to, what is a real witch and what is a fake witch. And there was a conversation going around. Because I know what you guys' response is going to be, because I know you all. There was a comment going, there was a comment going around that if a witch or an individual were to claim that they can speak with the dead, they were fake. And dead meaning that you could speak to your own ancestors. So my grandmother dies, that I could get a message from my grandmother, and that's real. But if your grandmother died, and I said I got a message from your grandmother, then I'm fake.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any
No.
sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the first
So
one to
Long
be
Island
skeptical.
Union State.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. She did come up in someone's videos once that I've never watched it.
I'm crushed.
I've never watched the Long Island Medium, so I know nothing about that show because I've never seen it. But,
No, I think
yeah.
it's kind of funny, actually.
And then I guess then the conversation went on to if an individual claims that they can speak to the dead, so your grandmother died, you were in distress, you came to talk to me to get some answers, and I charged you money, that really means I'm fake. And I'm just preying on you and trying to make money from that. And that you cannot speak, you cannot speak to the dead.
Now,
If
you're
they're not
saying you
real.
can't speak to the dead unless they're related to you.
Unless they're related to you.
Okay, that's what they're saying.
So,
That's what they're saying.
but I called you.
I don't buy any of that.
You
No,
came, you
It's
saw,
not
you
like you
saw
picked up the
my,
phone and said, hey, Shaw, I got a message from
No,
my grandmother.
you-
It cost
no.
you $20.
no, you came in, or you saw a video I might have had online, and you said, oh my God, I put this on and take the dead. I'm not saying that I can, but you speak to the dead, and I'm gonna go talk to her because, oh my God, she said she can help me out because, I'm really distressed. My grandmother just died, and home closure. I'll go talk to her, but she's charging me $100. Or $50, or
So I'm-
$25.
So are they specifically saying this about you're real or fake? Because my question is,
You're a fake witch if you claim to speak to the dead,
okay,
other than your own.
all right. My question is that there are many psychics out there, mediums,
Yeah.
okay? Are they all fake?
From what I understand,
No, just
From this
witches
person.
that do that.
Just if you're Wiccan, you're saying?
no, not a Wiccan, because the
I'm
videos that I were
confused.
watching were not claiming they were Wiccan, they were claiming that they were witches.
Witches, okay, I'm sorry.
Witches.
So, if a witch, and to my understanding, a lot of witches do read tarot and use other forms of divination to connect and get messages.
But you're not claiming that you're speaking to the dead, so you're good.
But with that, through spirituality and our beliefs on where we are getting messages sent through us, I don't buy
They're
that.
coming from your relatives, your.
Yeah.
But if they're not,
Do my relatives talk to your relatives, and then you talk to
That
your
wasn't
relatives?
addressed, that wasn't addressed. That wasn't addressed.
Right?
That wasn't
Might
addressed.
be
The
calling you.
points that I saw, and I think I watched 4 different videos, was that if a witch, and it was basically addressing a witch, but some people did say individuals, claim that they can speak to the dead, you're dead, then you shouldn't listen to them because they're fake.
so these particular
Because you
people
can't
who
talk to
believe
the dead.
this, they don't
That's that
believe that
person
they have
doing that.
any kind of spirit guides?
Well, they weren't saying spirit guides, they were saying the
Relatives.
dead.
Just
The
relatives.
dead.
I'm a little,
Well, I don't believe that.
I'm a little
But
confused on
On the
this.
flip side of that, I know that there's people out there that say that they can do spells for people and charge a lot of money as well. So are those, that's okay to do, but it's not okay to say that we can talk to someone's relative?
They were just actually, I think one of the videos I was watching talked about finding your gifts, and speaking to the dead is not, because it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking to your own relatives, then
Nice.
you're real.
I mean, I do prefer to use the
So,
people in
I
group,
guess-
but
My question is, when you're reading tarot, you get messages,
I do.
and
But apparently I'm not real.
well, this is what I was gonna ask, like,
I'm not real.
whoever, I'm sure that they must get, if they're reading intuitively, and they're getting messages
Not
from
from the dead.
somewhere.
Not from the dead.
Then they're ignoring.
Where are they
I
getting
don't
these
know.
messages from
And
then?
I don't know. I would have
The
to.
zoo on the show?
So then I would have to ask you this. These particular witches who who only believe that they can talk to their relatives, do they read tarot?
I
Is
don't
the
know,
next
because,
question.
right, and I have
Because
a lot
then
of
I can't
questions, and I
say.
guess my issue is making broad statements like that,
Mhm.
and saying, and going out and telling people that if you meet someone who claims to speak to the dead and they're saying that they can speak to your relatives, they're fake. We know people who speak with those on the other side that are not their own relatives,
Right.
and I'm sorry, I don't view them as fake,
Right.
you know?
There's too many people that
Definitely.
I've seen
right.
that get readings from mediums, and these people be dead on what they're telling someone.
Right.
Where does that come from?
I know.
Yeah.
And I have used, and I generally use my tarot cards to speak with those who have passed.
Right.
And I've had people here that have come and they have been, I came up with things that I didn't know these people.
Right.
So I'm not pulling it out of my butt, you know, I mean, and it was right on, so, I don't know, unless you guys think I'm fake, which is fine if that's what you want to think.
No, I think.
They're fake, sure.
See, that, to me, is a little bit confusing that, and I'd like to see it, I'd like to hear an explanation as to why they feel that you can get messages from your own relatives but not someone else's. Because to me, if you're open to hear your own relatives, then you're gonna be open enough to hear someone else's relatives.
I agree.
Right, especially if they're not able to hear for themselves and they come to you and say, I'm really in need. They're bringing the energy of those people
Yes.
with
With
them.
them.
I
And
agree.
the question I want to tie in with that is if witches believe that everybody has the ability to grow and develop, where are they getting that from also?
Well, and my thought is, okay, if we go back to everything is connected, everything is energy,
Mhm.
we're all connected to each other, we're all connected to all living things, we're connected to universal source or God and goddess or
Mhm.
whatever you want to call it, then, and if you think about reading Akashic records, I mean, all the information is there, you just need to be open to that information in order to get that. So whether it's coming in the form of an energy that was once physical, or whether it's coming from directly from source, it's still the same information. I mean, and I do understand that there are people out there who will just make stuff up for a buck. You know, there are fakes.
There are things out there.
But to just make a broad statement like that, I feel is really
Wow.
doing injustice.
It is.
To the whole
It's-
community.
Yeah, it is.
I agree.
It's judgmental.
And unfortunately, those people that are fake out there are doing injustice also. And that's the sad thing, because like I said, when the person that I was talking about the spell earlier, this person had talked to someone that was told that they could like handle them, they could do this whole thing, and it would cost them X amount of dollars. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I feel that when you can do something for yourself, then that's what you should be advised to do. And I don't believe in spending the money that these people are asking for. When you're talking hundreds of dollars,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. To me, that's just trying to rip someone off. That's how I feel.
Right.
That's just crazy
Well, and
money.
it goes back to the, you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, you teach him how to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime.
Exactly.
So when I'm asked to do spells for people, I do charge a fee, but
Right.
they have to participate.
Right. And no, I
Yeah.
understand. I
And the point is
understand
to
that
get
that's
them
an
to,
exchange, just
Right.
like a reading. with
and
people.
understand how the energy works and that they can do it for themselves. Because a lot of times, they're
That's
just-
the important thing. I think there are
Intimidated.
people that do that.
Yeah.
That say, okay, I'm the only one who can do this.
Right.
And there are people out there like
Yeah.
that. This is how you've got to do it and you have to listen to me.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Personally, I think if you're part of the spell or you're doing your own spell, the intention is going to be all from you.
Yep.
I mean, I've helped people. They've stood at my altar and done their own spell, but I've been there helping them and like as a battery, helping charge what they're
Right.
doing.
Yeah.
You know.
Or they're just nervous because they feel they're gonna do something
Yeah,
wrong.
they-
So if you're there to kind of guide them along.
Right.
Yeah. That does make you think.
All right. Well, I think we're just about out of time. So I want to thank everybody for coming. And if you are watching this, then you've already found us on YouTube. We are at the Read Sounds channel. And you can catch us again here at a future date to be announced. Thanks for joining us.
Love you.
Night.
Bye.
I think it's not.